Good evening, my name is Ron. I am a recovering intellectual. I like movies, I like books, and I like heteronormative concepts of things that are popular. In case those first two jokes weren't enough of a giveaway, I'm not a professional stand-up comedian. As Clinton mentioned, I am a lawyer. You really ruined my whole opening, man. I'm from the United States. I'm from a city called Boston. I went to a school that was very creatively called Boston College for law school. Boston College is a very proud Jesuit university, which was fitting because I felt like a priest all throughout law school. Completely devoted to my studies at a Catholic institution and having to take a vow of celibacy as a result. I work in a field called international trade law. How many people here know what that is? International trade law is very exciting. It's very interesting. I don't care about it at all. I am an international trade lawyer for one reason and one reason only.
It pays well.
That's reason number two. Reason number one is it fits perfectly with my lifelong dream of wanting to be a father. You may be wondering to yourself, those of you who just vocally responded to that, how does being a father fit with international trade law? Let me tell you. In international trade law, we frequently deal with two issues. One is a form of predatory pricing known as dumping. The other is a form of taxation at the border that is called a duty. Now, the rest of this requires just a bit of explanation. When I was about 5 years old, they had a day in our school where all the parents came and we got to ask them questions. So I'm assuming I'll be successful in being a father. I'm assuming I won't mess it up before the kid turns 5. And I'm assuming that they'll have a day at his or her school that was like mine where they bring the parents in. It's a lot of assumptions, bear with me. But there I'll be. And I'll have a captive audience of 24 5-year-olds. And they'll say, Mr. Ron, what do you do every day when you go to work? And I'll say, kids, every day I go to work and I deal with dumping and duties. And that will be the high point of my life. I'm only just kidding because life is pretty good. I live in Geneva, the most exciting place in the world. I've been in Geneva for 2.5 years. I'm actually marking my 2.5-year anniversary this month, which is insane. You know, it feels like I got here yesterday, and it just proves that it's exactly like the saying goes, time flies when you're having fun in an orderly, discreet, and occasional manner. But I can't complain because Geneva's been good to me. I breathe the mountain air. I have a great group of friends. I love the summer, which is rapidly approaching. And being in Geneva, I take better care of myself. You know, I recently had a physical, my first one in years, at my own initiative. It's not that I'm unhealthy, but I just said to myself I should get a physical. And I was sitting there in the doctor's office, and he asked me my blood type. And I didn't know. And I said, yeah, I don't know. So we did the test, came back. Turns out after 27 years of not knowing my blood type, I am an A negative, which is very fitting because I'm a high-achieving pessimist. But Geneva can be challenging too. It can be very expensive. And one way that I've realized this has been in the world of men's haircuts. A lot of other places in the world, men's haircuts are very cheap, not so here. So I've made it a personal priority. I only get my haircuts off of Groupon or Buy Club. I have never paid full price for a haircut in the city of Geneva. And while I was at my most recent haircut, again with someone new, I realized to myself there's an alarming similarity between haircuts and sex. Let me explain. If you do it right, you'll have pretty much the same person for the rest of your life. If you're messed up about it like I am, you're doing it with a different person every time. It can last a couple minutes or it can go up to a few hours. You have to describe exactly what you want every time. And then when it's all over, you sit there and you kind of hate yourself. But it occurred to me, they're not that similar. Let's not get carried away. In one of them, you're sitting, staring at yourself in a mirror the whole time while a flamboyant guy points sharp objects at your head, and in the other, you're just getting a haircut. Another thing I really want to do while I'm in Geneva is date a woman who only speaks French. Mon français c'est une catastrophe. So I really just want to date a woman who only speaks French. Mind you, I don't think it's exciting, I don't think it's sexy, and it's definitely not to learn French. There's one reason I want to date a woman who only speaks French, and that is so I finally have something legitimate to blame all my communication problems on in a relationship. I broke up with my girlfriend recently. Is a statement that would be more factually accurate several years ago. But it's okay. I'm out there, I go on dates, I meet friends, I meet women through friends, and I'm trying all the new exciting things. The new exciting thing in the dating world right now is Tinder. Let's get a show of applause. Who here is on Tinder? The rest of you either have more than enough dignity or you're liars. For those of us who apparently don't know, Tinder is an app for your phone that shows you three things. It shows you the person's face, the person's name, the person's age. You swipe left to say no, swipe right to say yes. If two people swipe right, if two people say yes, then Tinder lets you talk to each other, go on dates, and do other things. So I thought I would give Tinder a try. I downloaded it onto my phone, and I said, we have to have some ground rules, right? I'm not gonna swipe right. I'm not gonna say yes to any girl who's making a duck face. I quickly had to abandon that rule in the hopes of ever speaking to any woman ever. Tinder is a strange place. You can put a little description under your photo. There was one girl whose description said no hookups, which is a lot like going into a restaurant and saying no food, thank you. I'm not here to eat. Another girl's description said, I'm only here to make friends, which is a lot like going into a restaurant and saying, I'm not here to eat, I'm only here to shop for a car. But Tinder is worrying a lot of people because they're saying that it's going to fundamentally alter the way men and women look at each other, the way we treat each other. It's going to make us more superficial, it's going to make us more judgmental. And it's really unfortunate, but I can already feel Tinder affecting the way I look at women. I'm not proud of this, I'm quite ashamed of it actually, but just last week I was in a bar, I went up to a girl, I just went like that to her face. I actually did go on a date recently and it went very, very well. The girl was beautiful, she was funny, she was intelligent, we had loads in common, great chemistry, just everything. And she even said during the date, she said she wanted to see me that same weekend. This was on a Thursday, and she meant that weekend, that was like a day and a half away. So it went really well. And I texted her not too long after, and she replied, and then I said, well, what are you up to this weekend? And then there was silence. Nothing, ghosted, radio silence. And I thought to myself, this happens. I've done it before. Other people have done it before. I should really let it go. But then I thought to myself, no, we had something. We had this nice chemistry. So I did what I thought was best to do. I sent her this really sincere, nice message. I said, I thought we had something nice. I had a great time. You said you want to do something this weekend. I'd really like to see you again. And it worked. She replied. Within an hour. Woo! And she said, I had a great time too, it was really wonderful, but I just didn't feel a physical spark. I'd really like to hang out again as friends, but understand if you're not interested in that. So I took a second and I thought to myself, well, I'd be like the obvious guy who's just interested in dating her if I said no. So I should, she was a nice person, genuinely good person. I should do the right thing. I'll say yes. I said yes. But because I'm a guy, I then immediately started thinking, well, how do I get the physical spark to develop? So I said to myself, physical spark, I've got to make sure my hair looks good. Physical spark, I've got to make sure I'm wearing the right shirt. Physical spark, I'm going to hook up a car battery to my nipples. That one had nothing to do with physical spark. That's just so my actual bodily torment is as bad as my emotional torment when I meet up with her again. And the truth is, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but here goes. I have a lot of friends. I don't need like one more friend, right? I've got good friends in Geneva. Some of you guys are here tonight. I've got good friends back home in the US. The one edge that my friends in the US have over my friends in Geneva is that, you know people for a long time and you all start to play different roles in your friend group, right? And back home, the role I play in my friend group is the oldest young man. The idea is that I'm a young guy, but I've got an old soul. Here are a couple examples of how. I get along great with little kids. I love little kids. I own 3 sweater vests, 4 Argyle sweaters, and 5 cardigans. And I'm constantly hounded by a sense of sadness and melancholy that my life will never be as good as it once was. But then sometimes I feel like I'm way too young for where I am in life, right? Like I get up every day, I get ready, I put on a suit to go to work, and it still feels like dressing up. It still feels like I'm a little kid, like fooling everybody. And then I'll be sitting at my desk in my office, and I'm overcome by a sudden power. And it's the knowledge that at any time, I can get up from my desk, and I can go buy as much candy as I want. And it just feels too good. And emotions are a big challenge. I'm still working out how to process them. I was waiting for the tram the other day, and I just got a little sad for no reason. Because that happens when you're an adult and you have feelings. And I thought to myself, I could use a good cry. But I don't know how to cry. Like, I don't know how to, just get it going. And I literally had the following thought. I said, I wish there was a laxative for tears. Now, all these are spread out. I've even felt these, very compressed, this clash between maturity and immaturity. Last month, my employer, my law firm, sent me on a business trip to Washington. And I was very excited. It was my first ever business trip. And there's no adult thing, in my mind, more than a mortgage or being convicted of a felony that is as adult as a business trip. So I went on my business trip and I was very excited and I was doing work. And we were doing this work on this one document that we had to scrub for confidential information. Now we had to replace all the confidential information with the phrase, not suitable for public explanation. And I thought to myself, next time someone asks me how I'm feeling, that's how I'm replying. But I try to be mature, I try to be understanding, I try to be progressive. One thing I've always been very proud of is I think I'm very sympathetic to other people's challenges. I've had a pretty good life. I'm a young white guy. Challenges have been of the less problematic variety. And so I've always been very sensitive to just people who come from different walks of life, people who go through very terrible things like discrimination, right? I'm always very sympathetic to people who perceive and think that they've been discriminated against. I tend to sympathize with them a great deal, and I acknowledge that I've had privileges in life until recently. I was discriminated against, and it made me realize that I am not as privileged as I once thought I was. Let me set the scene for you. Who here's on LinkedIn? Come on, we're in Geneva. That should have been a hell of a lot louder than it was. I was on LinkedIn, and sometimes I get requests on LinkedIn from people I don't know, I've never met. And I usually reject them because if I don't know them, we're not going to help each other with our careers. It doesn't usually work that way. And sometimes you get requests from headhunters, right? Recruiters. And I got a request from this one recruiter who said she recruits lawyers for the Cayman Islands. And I said, I see how this works. This thing thinks that just because I work in one country where everyone wants to hide away their tax money, that I'll go and work anywhere where people will hide away their tax money. And I realize that I don't have as much privilege as I previously acknowledged that I do. I'll mix that one next time. So I try to be mature, but there are still these conflicted feelings sometimes, right? Like, I think I want to be a dad. Remember I said I really want to be a dad, but sometimes I don't know where this comes from, right? Because like you hear in society, we all talk about mothers and the maternal instinct. No one's ever talking about fathers and the paternal instinct. And so I was wondering to myself, what is it about me, about my background, that really makes me want to be a father? It's not my dad. Don't get me wrong, I love my dad. He's going to be seeing this video, so I have to say that. But it's, he's a regular dad. It's fine. I realized what it is. It's the particular role of like the angry action hero movie dad that has made me want to be a father. And of course, the archetypal angry action hero movie dad, a guy who's been in the news recently, is Harrison Ford. Yeah. Harrison Ford, you may have seen him in Air Force One, that movie where he plays the president and they do terrible things to his family. Or Patriot Games, that movie where he plays a CIA agent and they do terrible things to his family. Or Witness, the movie where he plays a detective and they do terrible things to an Amish family that isn't his, but he still has to go protect it. Of course, Harrison Ford has now ceremoniously passed this role on to Liam Neeson, the guy who was in a trilogy of movies where they do terrible things to his wife and daughter. Good news, guys, he's branching out. There's a new movie out this week where they do terrible things to his son. It's a big career change for Liam Neeson. The problem with these movies is that they don't give you a real idea of what it's like to be a dad, right? These guys are out killing bad guys, they're saving the day. Can you imagine Harrison Ford having to deal with kids? Get off my phone! Or even Liam Neeson, how would he deal with a regular dad problem? I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If it's a ransom, I can tell you I don't have any money. But what I do have are a particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a long career of passively aggressively arguing with your mother. Skills that'll make your life a nightmare, like embarrassing you in front of your friends. If you clean your room, this will all end now. I won't look for you. I won't pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will take your Xbox. And I still get weirded out by some family things, right? Like, I'll see little kids sometimes, and they make me skittish. And especially in Geneva, because Geneva is the one place where little kids are consistently better dressed than I am. Like, I'll see a 2-year-old who has like a bespoke vest and a bow tie and a tweed hat, and I'll get really jealous of his wardrobe, and then even more jealous because his mom is really hot. And it's such a contrast to the US, right? In the US, we dress our kids like shit until they're 30. And I was just in the US and I saw this little kid. He had a t-shirt that was like 3 sizes too big, and it said, "Here comes trouble." But then he had one of those like medical eye patches on. And it's like the perfect American, poorly dressed, not listening to his own advice, and just kind of walking around. My time's running out, so I'll leave you with this last bit. I've talked a lot about sex and gender and masculinity and growing up, and I think this one last thing really summarizes it very nicely. Hygiene products. Men's and women's hygiene products. Very alarming trend, I think. Because the trend with women's hygiene products is to separate things out as much as possible, right? You've got the pre-bath scrub, you've got the bath scrub, you've got the post-bath scrub, you've got the moisturizer, you've got the lotion, you've got the exfoliant, you've got the anti-age wrinkle cream. Separate things out. With men, it's about combining things as much as possible. Until I had my first girlfriend, I didn't know that shampoo and conditioner were supposed to be 2 different products. Because my whole life I've been using a combined shampoo and conditioner. The problem is that this trend is getting worse on both sides. I was at the store recently and I saw this delightful new product called a hair and body wash. Just for men to just kind of take, put over our head, squeeze, and be done with the whole thing. The combined hair and body wash raises raises a very alarming question, in my view. Two, actually. First, how lazy are men getting that we can't be trusted to apply one product above our neck and one product below our neck?
Not lazy, it's efficient.
Do you work at the WTO? Two, and much more alarming, how hairy are we getting that one product is good for both? You know, the end of this joke used to be that I would say that we're about a year away from like hair, body wash, and ketchup. But then I went to Manor. And I was in the travel section of Manor. They had this nice little bottle. It was a product called Wash It All. It had 4 drawings on it. A drawing of a head, a drawing of a shower head and its underneath its body, because, you know, those Swiss prudes. A drawing of a shirt, and a drawing of a bowl. This is a product that is good for your hair and body. It is good for your clothing. It is good for your dishes. I'm going to dial down the 1 year to 6 months until we have hair, body wash, and ketchup. And then that used to be the end of this joke until I went on my trip to Washington. Because Americans, they're very innovative. And I was at the store, I'd run out of body wash, so they didn't have my type of body wash, so I was smelling all the different kinds, trying to figure out what was good. And I finally settled on one that I liked after about 25 minutes. I said, oh, this one smells pretty good. And I looked at the bottle, and the bottle said pheromone enhanced. This body wash, men are not supposed to buy it because it cleans them well. They're not supposed to buy it because it smells good. They're supposed to buy it solely because it purports to make them scientifically more attractive to women. If that's the basis on which you're buying your body wash, you're a lost cause. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Kendler.
Boy, good. Give it up one more time for Ron. Like that was. There are some seats available for some. Oh, there you go. And they're sharing. That is sweet. Ron actually, he touched on something in that last set that I want to talk about, is discrimination. And the other day I was walking around and I saw there's these big yellow signs out, and they're all in French, and I think I kind of understood what they're saying, but I believe it's next week. Geneva is, I guess, kind of celebrating, if that's the word, like a week against racism, which as an American, I thought, like, wow, like you do that here. Like that's like a really cool thing, because if this were the States, people would be like, a week against racism, like, how would we ever make any money? Like, how would this place work? You know, it would be like it just wouldn't work in the States. And I thought about that. I'm like, yo, how do you have like a week against racism? You know, is it that someone is getting in a heated discussion with someone in Paki, and they're just right at the point where they're ready to go like ballistic, they're ready to call someone like the most despicable racial epithet that they can think of, and they see off in the distance this yellow sign that says week against racism, and right as they're about to drop that bomb, they see the sign and they're like, you know what? You're lucky. We'll pick this up next week when I don't have to control my damn racism.